Sometimes the best stories in golf aren't found on tour. You'll find them at the back of the range. And here's your host, Ben Adelberg.
And welcome to the Back of the Range Golf Podcast. I am your host, Ben Adelberg. This is episode 110. Hope you all had a great New Year's Eve. Welcome to a new year, a new decade. And if you're listening on the day that this episode posts, January 3rd, 2020, today is the second anniversary, second birthday, whatever you want to call it. But the podcast, the Back of the Range Golf Podcast, is 2 years old. So for those of you that have been here since the beginning, or if you're just recently learning about the Back of the Range, thank you for all of your support. Let's keep things rolling into 2020. I am not going to waste any time with announcements to start this episode, other than to say that if you have not listened to the first part of my conversation with Brad Tilley, go do that first before listening to this episode. So go back, listen to episode 109. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere. If you need any help, just go to thebackoftherange.com. So let's get it started. Part 2 of my conversation with Brad Tilley. So joining us again, long time no here, but welcome back to the Back of the Range, Brad. Let's finish up where we left off. Thanks for joining us today.
Yep. Thanks for having me on, and look forward to continuing the chat.
Of course. Well, you know, I did everyone kind of dirty in the last episode where I kind of teased this massive story you had about Tiger Woods, because you were a member at Medalist when you were a professional, and obviously that's a place that Tiger works on his game and prepares for championships there. So I feel like I'm kind of on thin ice with the listeners here at the podcast. So let's talk a little bit about Tiger Woods. I'm assuming no one's going to have an objection to that, let alone you. But maybe just explain to listeners, when you're walking into Medalist and you get your bag and you get all settled and you head over to the range to work on your game, and you look down and there's Tiger Woods doing the same thing as you are. What was it like the first time you saw that happen?
So, yeah, the first time you see Tiger in a different setting, right, it is pretty cool. Usually you're on the outside of the ropes and he's on the inside of the ropes, or you're staring at a TV, and that's the world of Tiger Woods that you consume. And to be part of the different side of that is one of the lucky few. Right place, right time to be at Medalist for as long as I was, and then he chose that spot. So very lucky, but it became more than that, which was amazing. He was kind of reworking his body and golf game back into the shape around that time. I think he joined there in around 2012, if I had to guess. And
Okay.
we all know what he did in 2013, but getting to the range, or even before you got there, because everyone knows Tiger, and it's no lie, he gets there before everyone else. And you pull in, and you think you're going to be the first one there, and there'd be a nice car in the parking lot, and you knew who was there.
Yeah.
And there was a different buzz around the property. Even though it was his home and it was a great home for him, and it still is a great home where no one pressures him, no one makes it awkward. They don't treat him like a celebrity. He's just another member. But you know who was there. There's a little buzz on the property, and then obviously getting out to the range, and even if you're on the other end of the range, watching him hit towards you, or if you're on the same end of the range, but not right next to him, it's a pretty cool thing to be a part of. Yeah, it's a different kind of practice session for sure. Really cool stuff.
Now, obviously you're there, you're a professional, you're trying to get your work done too. So you're both in the office, but at some point, there's got to be a little bit of, talk around the water cooler, so to speak. Do you go up to him, or does he just go up to you? Or like, you're both professionals working on improving your craft, but still, when do you get comfortable saying, "Hey, how's it going?"
I think that was aided by the comfort you have at Medalist in general.
Okay.
People are very comfortable around each other, and you don't need to feel nervous there. And as I said on the last episode, I mean, I've already met and played with a bunch of Ryder Cuppers there. That doesn't take away from the experience of meeting or talking to Tiger Woods. Of course, that's still a big deal. But I think the culture and atmosphere Medalist provides, it kind of takes a little bit of that edge off. But he was also really good. I mean, I know people have talked a lot about how he is when he came back, right? He had to take time off for the injury and everything that happened. And he came back and he was really friendly. He was happy to come up to the members, and fortunately he came up to me and I was able to get to know him decently well, to the point where he always said hi to me. We always had a chat when it was possible. And I wasn't afraid to go up to him and practice alongside him even. So we had quite a few times where we spoke, where we were on the putting green talking about things, or on the range practicing side by side. And it even got crazier than that. My
Okay.
yeah, I mean, my buddy came down. He works in New York City in finance. My buddy Chris Anosian, member at Sleepy Hollow, and we had a trip every year where he would come down, get out of the cold weather, and play golf. And he comes down, and I wonder if we'll see Tiger out at Medalist, because it was pretty well known at that time Tiger was a member out there. And I said, yeah, I've seen him quite a bit recently, so chances are pretty good. So we go out, and the first day we get there, we weren't going to play because he wants to shake the rust off. And I think it was the afternoon, and we see Tiger alone on the range. So I go up. I said, let's go say hi. I mean, how do you not take advantage of that?
Of
Right?
course, you have to.
So we go up and we say hi, and Tiger's in a great mood, as he had been all year. And he and I got to know each other from practicing together a little bit. And all of a sudden, there really wasn't anyone at the club. So he was a little bit maybe more comfortable or more open. And he asked what I was working on. So he wanted to see me hit a couple of balls. So now I've got Tiger watching me hit balls, putting me on the spot, and my buddy Chris kind of just sitting 5-10 feet behind, just wondering, how is this even happening?
Thank
And
God didn't want Chris to hit some balls for him. I mean,
it's not a good way to shake the rust
that would have
off.
been, I mean, that's that would have been a better story. Not that yours isn't good, but that would have been even crazier.
Yeah, I just think, the fact that this happened, and he spent at least half an hour from me. I don't know. Chris might say it's an hour, but it wasn't a short amount of time. And, he's grabbing the club and putting in positions, talking about feels, and working with me on what I had been working on, and giving me his 2 cents. And that is just, it surprised me.
What is Tiger's hourly lesson rate? I didn't know it's probably not posted anywhere, but that's great.
I'm glad he didn't bill me.
So he's working with you now, but you've had opportunities to play with him as well.
Yeah, I've played a few times with him. I mean, not full 18 holes every time, but we had a pretty cool match one time. Tiger was feeling pretty good. I think this was 2013. Yeah, it was. It was in May 2013, and he was in the midst of that run when he was going to become number one in the world again, and went 5 times that year, et cetera, et cetera. And this goes back to his relationship with Hugo Leon, my buddy.
Sure.
And we get out there, and Hugo goes, "Hey, we're playing with Tiger today." So, no, fantastic. This is gonna be great. So we get to the first tee, and Tiger is about to go to Memorial that week, and I'm pretty sure he won that Memorial. And have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure he did. He's feeling great, obviously. So we get to the first tee, and he goes, "I'm going to play you two guys best ball." We were like, "All right, sure,
Okay.
let's do that." And Hugo's playing great. I'm playing pretty well at the time, and we go out there and we have a good match. And Tiger was toying with us a little bit, in the sense that I don't think he really cared about the match. I don't know if he was trying to inflate our egos, letting us play best ball, but he was out there working on shots. He wasn't even trying to beat us up. I mean, not that he tried to lose the match, but
sure.
It was so cool to see him out there hitting drivers on holes that aren't driver holes, trying to work it into spaces, and all the things you heard about him hitting shots at a different site to get ready for the next venue, or for 2 venues ahead.
So he's he's looking down fairways, and instead of seeing the 8th hole at Medalist, he's seeing in his mind's eye, he's seeing the 14th hole at Muirfield Village, is what you're saying.
Exactly. And he it was insane. I mean, he's hitting these shots and they don't fit the hole. They're going into areas that you don't hit it. Like Tenet Medalist, for example, is a 3-iron pitching wedge, par 4. Huge fairway if you hit 3-iron. If you hit anything more, it gets really narrow with bushes and hazard. And he hits driver and carves it into this like tiny area. And you knew he was working on a shot for something else. So
Well, and getting back to what we talked about on the first episode or the first part of our conversation, you mentioned having this match against Michael Jordan, who is all about he does not want to lose. He doesn't want to. He just does. It's not about the money. He just does not want to lose. He's so competitive and he's heckling you. Sounds to me that Tiger, this is a work day. Like taking a couple bucks or saying he beat you and Hugo, no offense, is not what he needs to get ready for Memorial. So it's kind of interesting to hear it's very interesting to hear Michael Jordan's approach and Tiger Woods' approach, since they've both been really tied, very, very tied over the last, several decades.
incredible. Very different scenario for both of them. You know,
Right.
one guy getting ready for whatever tournament he's got coming up, and another guy who's his basketball career is over, and he's a competitive guy that wants to beat you at all costs. So, at the end of the day, I learned a ton from Tiger. It was fun to be on the course for a long time with him, and I did, in fact, hole about a 40-yard bunker shot on the final hole for Eagle. They've now converted the 18th to a par 4, but it was a par 5 back then. And he wasn't too thrilled with that because there was a press on that hole.
Oh, no.
And he gave me that little bit of a dirty look, and he gave me some nice words for my ears to chew on.
Nice.
I won't repeat them right here.
No, that's okay. I'm sure he just said, "Oh shucks," and you rascal. So
yeah, he said, "Dang it," or something like that.
Probably that sounds like Tiger. So I guess one question I have for you is: these are all great stories that probably, they're probably anyone that has had experience being a member at Medalist or playing golf with Tiger, being when he's working on his game, they could share similar stories, maybe not the whole bunker shot, but similar stories. I guess one thing that I'm always fascinated in is hearing stories about human moments from any of these guys on tour, or just about anyone in the game of golf. Sure, we have ideas of Tiger or Phil or Nicholas or Hogan spending 8 hours on the range and being very competitive or very locked in what they're trying to do. But I'm always fascinated by just the human moments where they're just an ordinary guy, just like the rest of us. I'm sure you would have this. I'm sure you've seen something like that would be like, yep, Tiger's just a regular guy.
Well, let me hit on one more non-human moment that made me realize something about Tiger first. I forgot to mention it, among other things. But I remember one day we were working together on the range, and he has that blade 2-iron in the bag, which he is no longer playing anymore. He always plays the 5-wood or a driving iron, but he's got the blade 2-iron in there. So I pick it up and I say, "Hey T, what's this for?" And I said, "Oh, I like to practice with it sometimes, blah, blah, blah. Like, would you mind hitting it for me? I just want to see it." And the shot that he produces with a blade 2-iron is not something, maybe Rory can do it. I don't know. He hits it straight up in the air, super flush, barely takes a divot. So it launches high. It stays up in the air forever, has a trajectory like there's someone's 9-iron, and flies about 260 yards. And at that moment, to see that greatness, even though it's just a shot on the range, I mean, we've seen him do it in tournaments and whatever, but to see him hit a shot on the range that I can't hit, I couldn't hit at the time, I'll never be able to hit, and pretty much everyone I've ever practiced with or played with or watched has no chance at hitting, speaks to being around once in a lifetime talent. And for me to be able to experience that was incredible.
Do you think he understands what you're going through when you see something like that? Like his self-awareness, and I don't mean like him like talking shit and saying, "Hey, look what I can do," and you can't. But do you think he has the self-awareness to realize, okay, I have the records, I have all the wins, but
but I'm better.
But I'm just there are people around me that are trying. There are people around me on the PGA Tour or here at the range of Medalist. I'm doing something that they can't physically do. Do you think he is aware of that?
He's completely aware of it, and actually leads me into something else. And he wasn't doing it in braggadocious
that's exactly what I mean. I'm not talking about being in the bunker and hitting some spinner and hitting 3 in a row in and saying, "Hey, look what I can do." I mean, just truly being conscious and aware of the fact that I have this ability that everyone in the world is working on, and they don't have it.
You know what, Ben? I think it's worse than that.
Oh,
I think
okay.
I think that he knows people aren't working on it because he knows they can't do it. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, no one can hit a 2-iron like that. I mean, I've heard stories of Jack Nicklaus. I never hit balls with him, so I don't know. I heard he had a pretty good long iron game, but now he knows that the modern player, no one's hitting shots like that. And I don't know if maybe you can't say no one ever will, but he knows what level he's at. He's very astute and very aware. I don't know, one time maybe he was sticking it to us, was another day on the range when he was testing Nike Woods. So probably maybe not the last batch. Do you remember the fire truck red Nike Woods that came out?
Yes.
Okay. So those were about to come out. We didn't even know they were going to be fire truck red because his didn't have a finish on them. It was just a matte army green looking club, but had that, I think it was, I don't remember what it was called, but had that hollowed out bottom. Ended up turning into those red clubs, and he's testing them, and we're hitting balls with him that day. And there was a group of pros there or whatever, so maybe he was kind of putting it to us a little bit. So he hits them, and he doesn't miss a shot. Just pure. 5-wood, 3-wood driver. Grabs, I don't know, he hit a couple fairway woods, hits them, and gets on the phone to whoever he calls at Nike. It obviously rings once, and then there's an answer. that phone call was not going to ring for very long. And he goes very casually, something, I don't have a direct quote, but something line is of, we need to work on the driver. The 3-wood's perfect. And the 5-wood, you need to knock 1/4 of a degree of loft off of it. Then it'll be good. And 1/4 of the degree, I don't know if he was sticking to us. I think he was obviously, he felt he needed that adjustment.
Right.
But I don't personally change my lofts by 1/4 of a degree.
No, and this is obviously not. Obviously, these aren't adjustable heads. This is glued in. Right. Yeah. So this is. So.
Yeah, they need to make a new club with 1/4 degree less loft than the 5-wood they had sent him, and honestly, he hadn't missed a shot. So I don't know why he needed that, but I guess he did.
There you go.
He was that good. But we can talk about the him being a human, which was obviously to me equally as cool as the athlete and the incredible talent on the golf course he is.
You've mentioned all these things and superhuman things, but I mean, tell me there's a time where Tiger's just one of the boys.
Oh, for sure. And I think that, as I said, he was very good with everyone. He was great with me. We got to know each other. We worked on golf, but we also became, I'm not going to say friends because I didn't hang out with him that much, but we were friendly. And it was very sincere. And it was nice to see that he is just a human too. And to develop a relationship with a very interesting guy who has a lot of passions and interests, and kind of, I think he almost was wanting or seeking a little bit of that human side of things sometimes, where maybe it wasn't always going to be about golf, or maybe between shots while we were playing, we could be buddies or something like buddies.
Sure.
And I just think he lives a very obviously isolated life given his superstar status. I mean, it's not like he runs out to go to the movies, and he's not really able to do that with the fanfare around him. So I think those moments, I think he cherished them, but it was very cool to see that side of him. And it was nice to have that relationship with him and have those chats with him. And they were pretty relaxed, and he's a pretty cool California guy. And really the one story that I always tell people that kind of woke me up, or just was a very interesting experience for me, was during one of the summers, and it was probably the summer of 2012. And during the summer at Medalist, they do a lot of work to the course. The staff is not in the clubhouse. It's open for us, so we can go use the facilities. We can sit down at the tables, but there's no food service. There's no drink service.
Right.
There's like one person in the shop. The course is often closed. The range is closed for the regular membership those days. When I say regular membership, I'm talking about the non-professional playing membership.
Right.
And it doesn't really need to be closed for them because most of those guys are, up north doing their thing at their other club. And all the pros are down there. You just get there, you grab your basket of balls that has your name on it down in the cart barn below the clubhouse, and you head out to the range and you hit your balls, and somehow someone will come pick the range and sort the balls back out, and you can do that every day throughout the summer. So some of those days were the days that I spend the most valuable time with Tiger and with the other pros, because there wasn't a hustle and bustle, and there was only one thing you could do. You can walk in the clubhouse and you can use facilities, and you can walk out to the putting green range and use those. That's it. So you're almost forced into the same space. And one day we're there with Tiger, and there's just a few of us. I think Hugo was there, and we were hitting balls in the morning, and it's typical Florida morning. We're all covered in sweat, and we need to get lunch. We're going to go back and practice in the afternoon. And Tiger decides he's going to join us for lunch, which is interesting. He usually kind of has a busy schedule and does his own thing. And
Yeah.
you get some time with him when he's at the course, and then he just in the car and he's gone. And you wonder when you're going to see him next. So on this particular day, we jumped into our cars. I didn't ride with him. He didn't ride with us. But so we took separate cars, and we ended up going to the Hope Sound Deli, which I didn't even know existed before that day. And it's this, whatever, normal deli, very small on the side of US 1 or A1A, whatever the road is there. And it's kind of surrounded by weird stuff. You got an auto shop, you got whatever. There's really nothing there.
Right.
So we all park, we walk in, and the moment I walked through that door and grabbed my soda out of the cooler, and I just looked next to me, and Tiger's there. Tiger Woods is in Hope Sound Deli with me, being very relaxed, looking at a cooler, what should I drink? Like any other guy would walk into a deli, or your other buddies walk into the deli and decide what do they want to drink, and then you walk up and you order a sandwich. So now I'm here with him in a deli that I've never heard of, kind of a hole in the wall. Actually had good food. I don't know if it tasted better because I was eating it with Tiger or not.
There you go.
But so we're just sitting there selecting drinks and sandwiches, and we grab them, and we head back to the clubhouse, and we sit down in the men's locker room. There's a grill area, and we open up our sandwiches and eat them and talk like I would with Hugo or any of our other buddies at that time. And doing that with Tiger and seeing him be that human and having the experience of being in that deli with him was just weird. I mean, it'd be weird to see him at a restaurant, let alone be with him at one. And the people that worked there were really good about it. They knew who he was, obviously, but they didn't mention anything. They treat him like any other guy, and I think he really appreciated that. And so that, to me, it's not this huge, crazy story, but just experiencing that and seeing that was kind of an eye-opener for me, and one of the cooler moments I had with Tiger, actually.
No, that's a great story, because I think everyone kind of would like to be in that situation and see what that experience is like. And okay, we're away from all the hustle and bustle and the lights and the camera, and just a guy getting a sandwich because his he's just a guy getting a sandwich because his club doesn't have the kitchen staff home around that day. So that's kind of what you got to do.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
amazing.
awesome. Well, I know we can fill up tons more, but let's actually. I want to ask you. So you're obviously a reinstated amateur, and at this time, and golf is just kind of that it's different than other sports. A professional athlete, when they decide to end their career, it's normally because of age or, skills are diminishing. But, golf, it's a little different. The skills may not necessarily diminish. They may not get to a level where it gets you to the PGA Tour. So sometimes it's running out of money. I guess that's a very typical, reason for it. But I'm just curious, what was kind of your writing on the wall moment, or when did you realize, hey, I just don't want to do this anymore? I'm just wondering if you can talk through the transition from playing professionally to eventually getting your amateur status back and competing on the national stage.
That was a hard decision, and it actually took a lot of talking with my dad, who was helping me out, and it didn't necessarily come down to dollars and cents, but it came down to what's your life plan. And what made it extra hard for me was I could have kept playing, and I'd been working my butt off at the time, and my results weren't matching up with the hard work I was putting in. And that was very frustrating, very stressful. And I
Yeah.
kind of made a deal with myself that age 30 was going to be a number where I was going to take a serious reevaluation and figure out what I wanted out of life and what my decision was going to be. Because in my mind, I didn't stop playing because I didn't feel I was not going to make it or my skills weren't improving. And I still to this day would I think I'm better now today than I was then. And I don't practice very much. So I can only imagine. I mean, and I don't think that's why. I can speak to the mental things that have been able to help me improve my mental game on the course, as far as growing up, getting a job, doing something else for a while. You have time to reflect, and I think that's made me better. But I do, the point I'm trying to make is I think I could have made it. I don't know if I would have made it. I don't know how long it would have taken, if it ever would have happened. Would it have lasted for 1 year? Would it have lasted for 10? And the point was, when I was evaluating me getting into my 30s, you start to get to a point where you're using someone else's money, whether it's family money, friends' money, private sponsors, not private sponsors. You're using someone else's money to pay for your life, and you're going down not a dark path, but a potentially lonely path that you could end up being at age 40 and not have made it, and then make a decision that you need to know what to do. And I felt that at around age 30, I was a lot more, I had more time, and I was still not that old, that if I wanted to start a career, or I was able to start a career and fail at that maybe for 2 or 3 years and do something else. And I think once you get to 40, I thought it was going to be harder for me to do that. So it was more of a benchmark and a milestone. And the fact that if I, at age 30, I had, at that time was web.com, which is now Corn Ferry. If I had that status at that time, I was going to keep going. And I didn't get through Q school that year. And it was hard for me to stop playing, because I did believe I still had a lot in me. And it took me a while to get over that, to the point where I didn't really want to play golf. I didn't want to be around golf unless I was doing it 100%.
Sure.
For me, 100% was to become the best I could be and to play at the highest professional level possible. And I wanted all of it or none of it. So
Totally understand.
I mean, I think I played less than 10 rounds in 2014. People would ask me to play, and I said, I don't want to do it. Not interested in it. Don't like it. Like, whatever. And I still always loved the game. It wasn't that I lost the love for the game. It's just I wasn't able to be part of the game the way I wanted to be a part. It wasn't on my terms anymore. So the decision to stop playing was solely on a benchmark, and the fact that the last couple of years, my results just weren't matching up to where I wanted to be and what I thought I was going to be. And it was a hard decision and an easy decision at the same time. Results weren't proving that I was going to get where I wanted to be quickly. I had a lot more hard work to do, and I didn't want to go into my mid or late 30s and then fail at that point. And it was hard for me to play golf at all after that. And I essentially took 3 years off. So my last full year.
Yeah, it's such a crazy, not to cut you off, but it's such a crazy game, because if you're trying to make it in football or basketball or baseball or something where I guess you can always improve your physical skills, doesn't seem like that, practicing harder may or may not help you in the long run, because everyone gets it done a different way. There's guys that have limited time on the range, play limited, and they can do it. Then there's guys that live at the course and they're able to accomplish as well. I mean, there's no exact blueprint. So you take your 3 years of just kind of getting away from the game. When did you start to get the itch? Do you remember what brought you back to it?
Yeah, it was simple.
The Hope
I was
Sound
moving.
Deli. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry.
I never ate there again.
You really can't ever go back there, can you? I mean, that's gonna be such a letdown if you ever go back there again.
I'm not going back there. No chance.
Okay.
No chance. Can't do that. You're right. No, but easy for me when I decided I was never going to get it back living in Florida, and I was going to continue doing what I was doing. I played men's hockey league for 3 years, which gave me a lot of joy. Hockey was my first passion. I got back into it and didn't care if I injured myself. I wasn't willing to do it as while I was playing because I could get injured. And I did that for 3 years. And then I was moving back up north, and I didn't really want to find a new hockey league. I'd kind of done what I wanted to do with the hockey. My body was not getting any more receptive to punishment. And I was like, hey, well, I grew up in the New York area. And for me, with all the retrospect I had, looking back on the days of Northern golf and golf in the Northeast and the way they have tournaments and the way they run tournaments up here in the Metropolitan Golf Association and the other golf associations in the area, the venues are incredible. I mean, you're treated better than any other tournament other than a PGA Tour event. I mean, I never played a professional event that treated me as well as I was treated at a Metropolitan Golf Association, one of their majors, which is, you're talking about the Ike, the Met Amateur, and the Met Open are the 3 majors. So, and that's not to say I wasn't treated well. As I said, in Canada, on the last episode, you were treated almost as if you're on the PGA Tour. But, I mean, when I'm talking about world class, you feel like you're playing a major championship in these Met events. So when I decided to move back, it was just a no-brainer. I said, I need to do that. I can be competitive. I need to find my game again because I don't know if I have one anymore. But I can be competitive. I can play great golf courses, and there's so many great people. So now you're talking about friendships, networking, and you can just name it from there. So it was just an easy decision when I moved up to do it.
How did you transition as far as getting your game back and realizing that you have a certain amount of time that you can devote to your game? It's much different when you're professional versus when you're an amateur. I think that's one of the things that when people listen to this podcast, I always try and bring out, okay, how do you prepare your game for, a New York State mid-amateur, a U.S. mid-amateur, a USAM qualifier, anything you're playing in. How do you make that transition from what you used to do to, okay, now I have a finite amount of time?
Play a lot of hockey. No, you.
That's not going to do it. No.
It's not a joke, actually, in a way.
Okay.
For me, when the years I played hockey and getting into the mindset of being part of a team and a hockey team, it's obviously a lot different than golf. You could give up 2 goals at the beginning of the game and come back and win. If you hit the first 2 balls OB, your round's pretty much shattered. So different game, but the mindset I think that hockey players have compared to golfers is a lot different. I mean, you can fall, you could trip, you can get hit in the face with a stick, and you can have a terrible shift, and the next shift out, you're going to go and you're going to work hard, and you just put your head down, you don't complain. Whereas I was guilty of it, and most golfers are, is sometimes you get into this negative, complainy spot on the course. So for me, playing hockey gave me a different mindset and approach to the game, and I think it's a huge benefit to me now.
Okay.
And then for some reason, right before I came back up, I decided to play a little more golf as I'm going to get my amateur status back. I got it back. That fall, I started playing golf again down in Florida. So that's fall of 2016, and I'm not playing tournaments, but I would go out once a week to Medalist and play. And I was back with my buddies, and I cared about practicing or playing a little bit. And I was really rusty. I mean, I don't know. I would go out. I would, whether I felt I played well or poorly, I would shoot 78. And I was like, well, what happened? Well, I guess you take 3 years off.
Yeah.
And you're playing a tough course like Medalist. That's going to happen. But then it started building on itself. And Hugo and I played the member in December at Medalist, and we didn't win, which is terrible. We finished second, but we just kind of had the first 27 holes of this 36-hole event. We had this where we both would make a bogey in the same hole. We both birdied the same hole, and we just lipped a bunch of putts out, and didn't let it get to us. And then I went out on the back nine there, and something clicked where I lipped out for birdie on 10, and then I birdied 7 of the last 8 holes. I was actually 7 straight, so I birdied 11 through 17, and then parred 18 with just missed a putt, which I thought was to get us in the playoff. I think we would have missed by 2. We missed by 2 in the end, I think, anyway, in the playoff, finished second. But I shot 29 on my own ball with 7 birdies at Medalist. And that was actually my last round at Medalist until I went back down last year. And that just kind of showed me the game's not gone. And obviously then I had to move up, and it was snowing up here, and I didn't play much. And then my first tournament back was US Open local in Connecticut here, and I was a wreck. Coming off not practicing because it's been cold weather and snow and all that. I've been trying to move in, and I think I putted really well and shot 77, missed by a mile. But that gave me motivation. I didn't get upset about it. Just gave me something to work on. And I slowly built that year with my new attitude, and just kind of got better each event that year, and ended up I won the qualifier for the US Mid-Am, and was Medalist during the stroke play at the Mid-Am that year in Atlanta, and lost in the quarterfinals to Matt Parziale. I was 5 up through 10. He went nuts on me, and he beat me in extra holes. So
wow.
I relive that once in a while because I was rolling that week. But I'm glad he went on to win. It was at least that made it a little bit easier to swallow.
Of course.
But no, but I just think I've always been a feel player too. I'm not overly technical, and I think that helped me in the terms of, I've got all this experience from playing professionally in all these events, but also I don't need to practice a ton for my game to show up as it would, because of the fact that I am a field player, and I've always kind of relied on my imagination and my short game a lot. So for me, if I hit an errant shot, I'm kind of used to that. So it doesn't really stress me out. And obviously I need to work on hitting less errant shots, but I think that helps when you don't practice every day.
Sure.
When you only play once a week. So I just think the nature of my game helps a little in that. And obviously I can use what I think is having a better attitude now, which some time away from the game and playing hockey helped me with. And then I can always go back to all these moments as a junior golfer, as a college golfer at Virginia, or as a pro, or at a match against Michael Jordan or Tiger Woods. And all these moments are something I can bank on. So there's not really a situation where I feel like I'm going to get uncomfortable. And I'm not to say that I don't get nervous. I'm nervous like everyone else is. If I get to the first tee, I'm nervous to hit the first tee shot. If I've got a putt to win a hole or have a hole, you're always nervous. But at University of Virginia, we had Bob Rotella, for example, and I worked with him, and he said being nervous just means you care. And once you acknowledge that, you can move on and then just take care of the business that you have in front of you, whether that's a 6-foot putt or a tee shot or whatever it might be. Just acknowledge you're nervous and move on. And so I can use all these things as a bank of knowledge and experience to help me be as successful as possible on the course
Nice.
as a mid-amateur.
Nice. Let's talk about, I mean, like you just said, numerous successes at the national level, whether it's U.S. Mid-Am, whether it's local qualifiers, things in the state, things in the Met. But I really want to talk about this fall where you did something that I don't think has ever been done. You won 3 mid-amateur championships. I think you're the only one that holds the New York State and the Westchester and the MGA mid-amateur titles in the same year. Actually, no one's ever done that. No one's actually, only one other person or two other people have won 2 out of the 3. The thing that's so crazy about this is these 3 tournaments were in the span of 10 days. So while that's kind of sinking in for people, when you're looking at the schedule and you're signing up for this, obviously you're aware of how close they are, but what are your initial thoughts thinking, okay, I just signed up for 3 different tournaments in 10 days?
Yeah. The schedule is kind of tough as we're in the Northeast, right? So your tournaments are from local qualifying for US Open in May 7th or something until the end of October. So now you've got a 5-6 month condensed schedule, and there's a lot of opportunities up here to the point where we're very lucky to have what we have between invitationals and then the Golf Association. So I live in Connecticut. I'm eligible for Connecticut State Golf Association, which runs a bunch of great tournaments. I'm a member of Sleepy Hollow, which is Metropolitan Golf Association, MGA, and New York State Golf Association, NYSGA. They all run great tournaments, and there's no possible way to play them all and then add invitationals and then add maybe a couple invites for national tournaments or qualifications for USGA. You just can't play that much, and they overlap. So this was kind of a weird year for me where things fell. I've always wanted to play New York State Golf Association stuff. I actually had never played any of their tournaments, and it's not for any other reason than scheduling conflicts or distance to a venue or a qualifier. And I saw that I was exempt for the New York State Mid-Am, so I threw that on the schedule because there's nothing really competing with it. It just fit nicely. And I could go and stay with my buddy in Central New York, who's the Colgate men's golf coach. He's one of my best friends, Keith Tyberski, which was about 45 minutes from Tuscarora, which hosted the event. So that was on the schedule. And then also the Metropolitan Golf Association runs a point system for Player of the Year, and your exemptions into their events are based on that. And then you need to kind of be in the top 10 to get into the events for the following year. And I had a rough start to the season in the sense that I just didn't accumulate a lot of points. Not that I played poorly, but I didn't always play well at the right time, and my finishes were maybe 10th instead of 5th and 4th, which there's a huge point difference there. So I looked to add events to my schedule in the fall. So I signed up for a very robust fall schedule. And at this point, you have to sign up pretty early. So I didn't know what was going to happen. So I signed up for New York State Mid-Am, Westchester Mid-Am, and Metropolitan Mid-Am, which I always play anyway, because the venues are incredible and there's a lot of exemptions if you win. And I also signed up for Nassau Invitational and Gene Sarah's an Invitational. And I knew that the Kerry Cup was sandwiched in between those two, which I wasn't really, I was in the conversation, but I wasn't really on the team because I hadn't accumulated a ton of points. And it was something I always want to play in those international matches. So,
and speak to what the Kerry Cup actually is.
Yeah, so it's the USA versus the Ireland. So you got the Golfing Union of Ireland, which is the whole country, and then the USA is represented by a team that is from the Metropolitan Golf Association. So it's not really pooled from the entire United States, but you're representing the US and the MGA. So it's really just a Ryder Cup style match, six amateurs on each team competing for points as you would in a Ryder Cup. So you've got one day of team play where you play alternate shot and best ball, and then that's 6 points, and then the final 6 points are singles matches on the second day. So it's very much like a condensed Ryder Cup against Ireland.
Nice.
So yeah, I signed up for all those events and got a little momentum at the Met Amateur, started to play well, accumulated some points there. And then I had this huge gap in my schedule, so I wasn't really concerned with the scheduling being so crazy in the fall. Then I headed up to Central New York to play the New York State Golf Association mid-amateur, and it was a cool course, and it reminded me a lot of Canada in the sense that it's a tiny course with fast, slopey greens and long rough. We have to really manage it well, and was fortunate enough to go up there and play really well. Set a scoring record, won by 7 shots. Shot 69, 66, 69, and to have all rounds in the 60s and do that was incredible. And then didn't play at all until my next event, which I think was, I don't know, 4 days later or something, or 5 days later. Just got back to work, did what I had to do, showed up in the rain and wind in the next tournament and won that one. That was the Westchester Golf Association. Then I had 2 days off, and I didn't play those 2 days, obviously, and teed it up in the Metropolitan Golf Association mid-amateur, and had a crazy win there. I was kind of behind, ended up taking the lead and had a somewhat commanding lead with 2 holes to go, and got stuck in the left trees. Actually ended up making up and down from 88 yards for triple on the second to last hole.
Oh,
Lost
God.
my lead. Yeah, lost my lead, and this is where it really gets interesting. I pull my tee shot at the 18th hole at Weeburn. OB left, bunkers and OB left, and water right. Very demanding tee shot. I pulled a little, trying to hammer it so I can get a chance to reach the green in 2. I pull it, hit the back end of the bunker, and I think I'm fine. I get up there, I'm a foot OB. So I've just made triple, and my ball's a foot out of bounds. And I'm thinking, wow, this is going to be a monumental meltdown for the guy trying to win 3 tournaments in a row. How's that thought not come into your head?
Of course.
And so I start walking back towards the tee. One of the officials sees this, picks me up in the cart, drives me back. I pipe my next tee ball, probably out of a little bit of anger. And then I hit 5-wood up on the green on this long par 5. So that's pretty cool. And I'm walking up, and a few people out there, and my dad's watching me, and he goes, if you make that putt for a second ball eagle and a par, you'll be solo second. And at this point, I feel like I'm not going to win the tournament. And so I've got this 55-foot putt up over a ridge. And I guess by the time I had got up there and read the putt, the guy in the group behind me had run into the same kind of trouble I did and had already hit a couple shots and one OB. And I didn't know this. I think I've got this putt, which I'm trying to make for finish second. And I somehow make this long 50, 55-foot putt over a ridge. And people go nuts. I'm thinking, well, that's nice of them to be supportive of me. And turns out the guy in the group behind me had so much trouble, he ended up making an 8. And I ended up winning the tournament by a shot over a couple of people. And so obviously was very lucky in the sense that it worked out and to make that putt. But yeah, 3 tournaments in a very short span and 3 mid-amateurs that I don't know if anyone has won all 3. And I know that no one's won all 3 in the same year. And to do it in the fashion that I did was unexpected, really special, something I'll never forget.
Well, that's a nice fall. I don't know what's your encore plan for 2020. What are you doing to prepare for 2020?
Well, I mean, the fall wasn't over then. I mean, I finished second at Nassau and I won Gene Sarazen, but the highlight of the fall really came for me in the international matches, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
Yeah, so the Kerry Cup, I mean, I kind of get more excited for the international team play than I do the individual stuff. I don't know why. It's just something you don't really get to do that much. So whenever you get that opportunity, I don't know, for me, it becomes more important. When it becomes more important, I feel like I step up even better and I play my best golf and I'm more into it and just kind of am able to rise to the occasion in those. And we had to play a really good Irish team. They had 3 Walker Cuppers. I think their worst player was ranked like 250th in the world or something.
Yeah, so it was James Sugru, it was Purcell, and who's the third?
Colin Rafferty.
Yeah, Colin Rafferty, that's right.
Yeah, so you got those 3 guys. And they drummed us on the first day. We had to get 4.5 out of 6 points to win on day 2. And
wow.
it played into their hands. It was cold and rainy on the first day, and they all played well, and they're a great team, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm sitting in the locker room upset, and we have this team meeting, and I have 0 points on day one of an event that I care about, and I know I step up for these, and I played fine. I just couldn't pull out wins that day with my partner, and I'm bummed out. Like, didn't matter that I won the 3 tournaments. Nothing mattered other than we got to win this thing, and now I have a huge deficit to come over, and it just turned right there. We got this information. The MJ is great. They keep all this data. They said they always put their best players out first. So we know their 3 Walker Cuppers are going first, probably in the order that they're ranked in the world or whatever. And one of the guys on our team goes, well, who should we play? Whatever. Ideas are bouncing. And I just said to everyone, so I don't care who I play. I'm going to go out. I'm going to do my best. If I play well, I think I'm going to win. So put me wherever you need me. I want to be part of this comeback. And one of the guys who's got some experiences, I think you should go out first. So they put me out first against Connor Purcell. And my brother couldn't be there that day, so I promised him I'd birdie 1 for him. Birdie the first hole, making a 20-foot putt. He had an 18-foot putt I miss. He misses. So great, whatever, 1 up. Then I birdie 2. Then I birdie 3. Lip out on 4. Birdie 5, birdie 6, birdie 7. And birdie 8. So I birdied 7 of the first 8 holes. He's even par, and he's 7 down through 8. So that was silly, but I knew it was weird. I just knew I had to keep pushing because he's such a good player. I think he was ranked 12th in the world that time. The next week he was ranked 9th in the world. He's now turned pro. He just played the Australian Open this week for his debut pro event. And I just respected his game so much and his talent that I just knew if I didn't keep going and I gave him anything, he would just come back on me. So I just kept pushing and ended up birdieing the 11th hole. So I birdied 8 of my first 11 to win 8 and 7. And I also knew that was going to kind of invigorate the guys when they saw the leaderboard. And it did. We won all 3 matches against the Ryder Cuppers. We won the first 3 points. And Trevor Randolph, who's a member at Arcola, sank a 15-footer on the final hole and forced the guy to make an 8-footer. And if he had made that, it would have been a tie in points, but they would have retained. And he ended up missing. So we got the 4.5, and we won by half a point. So honestly, that was the highlight of my year. Totally. Both because of the way I played in the singles, but just being part of a team and for us to actually come back and win and beat an Irish team that had the accolades that they had. So
Sure.
That was the highlight. I'm going to ride that momentum into 2020. I'm fortunate enough to have put together a little indoor studio, which I'm in right now in my garage with a mat and a net and a launch monitor, which was generously donated by a friend. So I've got that to hit balls this winter. I've never done that. I've got little big moss putting greens in here and hit about 12-foot putts on, and a little gym set up. So my goal is this winter to actually hit balls inside and hit putts inside and try to get my body into a little bit better shape. So that's the winter plan, and I think it's going to pay off. I'm going to keep thinking about all the good things that happened this fall, and I'm going to use that memory as motivation and momentum going into 2020. And I'm going to hit balls for the first time in the winter since I was a pro living in Florida.
Well, it sounds like you got it all kind of planned out. If you can replicate what you did this year, 2020 is going to be great. So, well, I really appreciate just all the fantastic stories in this episode and the previous one. This has been a great 2-part episode. And sounds like there's going to be no shortage of things to talk about in 2020, so we'll have to catch up and do it again.
It was awesome talking to you about all this stuff, and I really appreciate it.
And there you have it. Special thanks to Brad Tilley for joining us for back-to-back episodes. He was the last one in 2019 and kicked things off for us here in 2020. Don't forget, every episode is available at thebackoftherange.com. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We'll see you again next week for another episode here at the Back of the Range.